Hello and welcome to my video. I'm Rehan, I'm 14 years old, studying 8th grade, and today I have two guests with me. One, Shami, he is my father and also my close friend, and Shivam, uncle, he is my dad's friend. He is also a good friend. So today's topic is going to be a surprise. Well, imagine you're doing a task and repetitively you have to keep doing it again and again and again, and you wish someone else could do it for you. Maybe a robot. Well, let me tell you, those days are not very far. Welcome to my presentation on Tesla Optimus as a deep technical dive. So, what is the Tesla humanoid robot? Well, it's combined with AI and it combines hardware. The goal is to replace humans of doing dangerous tasks or repetitive ones. Well, it uses Tesla's automotive AI and its supercomputer. It's like 173 centimeter tall and it weighs about like 56 kilograms. And it has 40 structural actuators. And it also has like 12 degrees of freedom for its fingers, meaning it can do 12 forms of its fingers. It can move them in 12 ways. Well, and also there are two types of actuators in the robot, like the rotary ones and the linear ones. Now coming to the parts. First, I'll tell you about the head. In the head, they use the FSD chip, which stands for a full self-driving chip. This is the same chip which Tesla uses for their autopilot in their cars. This also processes what the robot sees with the cameras and what move it should do next or not. Speaking about the cameras, cameras also recognize people, avoid obstacles, and also, for example, see what the depth is. For example, the distance from point A to B. And as you can see, there are keep saying actuators on the slide. I'll explain once what they are, and then we'll move on to the next topic. In the actuator is like a muscle. For what we humans have, the robot will use them to move their arms, their feet, and how to walk. There are two types of actuators, linear actuators and rotary actuators. So, what is in the actuator? In the actuator, there's this torque motor. This controls the strength of the actuator on how fast it needs to move. And there's also the gear system. It controls how fast the torque needs to move so the arm can, well, go into motion. There's also the force sensors. For example, when a robot is grabbing an egg, it knows what force to apply and to hold, and so it doesn't crush it. The encoders, these tell the robot how fast the torque is spinning. And the bearings, well, these just reduce the friction of the torque motor so they can run smoothly. And now, coming to the hands. Well, as you can see, the hands are the most expensive parts to make. But why? Well, in the hands, there are 12 motors for each finger motion. There are also 64 sensors. Well, what are 64 sensors? These are sensors that can sense pressure in any direction. Right, left, forward, up, down, twisting, tilting, and even rotating. So as you can see, there are also very many motors, so that's why it costs so much. And now coming to the legs. Well, the legs are very important because they need to have balance, coordination, and force feedback, and also stability. They're used mostly with linear actuators. And the thigh, they move the leg forward and backward or up and down. And the calf, they bend the knee and support the robot's weight. The feet also have 64 sensors to find if the ground is, for example, slippery, or maybe if it's slanted, or if it's straight or not, so how it can walk. Now, the Optimus has a 2.3 kilowatt hour battery. This is enough battery to charge a laptop for 2 whole days, and it runs at 52 volts. That's a huge amount of power. Now coming to the skeleton. Well, the outer shell is lightweight and protected for electronics. So it's usually mixed with carbon fiber and aluminum and many other metals. Now coming to the vision and perception. Well, in the Optimus, there are 8 plus cameras, and as you can see, the SLAM, they create and see everything in 3D shapes. So they can get a full vision of the body, how it looks like. So the SLAM, well, they design a map in 3D and they have multi-camera fusion. So whatever they see, they'll mix it into one screen so they can get the full view of the product what they're looking at. Now coming to the architecture. As you already know, the FSD chip and the end-to-end transfer models. Well, this is something that is very important. So what does it do? It's an advanced AI that learns by looking at full tasks. You don't need to break it into steps. It'll learn by itself, and you don't need to do anything else. So reinforcement learning and task cloning. This robot by trial and error and can also copy tasks that were done successfully before. So if it already did a task before, it copies it and saves it into memories and repeats the same steps afterwards. So limitation learning from human data. This watches a video or an image, for example, what a human does, and then repeats the same task by doing so like how a human does. The planning layer for decision making. So the Tesla Optimus already thinks ahead what it should do next, what move it should make, and for example, even what chore to do next. Now coming to the Dojo supercomputer. So, well, the Dojo supercomputer, what does it even do? For example, let's make, for example, that Optimus made a mistake and it needs to correct that. Well, how does it do it? So it sends its data to the Tesla Dojo Optimus supercomputer. These are huge computers that train the Optimus to do jobs like house chores and everything else. If it did a mistake, it uploads to the Dojo supercomputer, and then from there it trains and see what the mistake was and make sure that this never happens again and sends better AI brains to the Optimus back. This keeps happening until it sells. But if the humanoid is not controlled to the network of your home, this cannot keep doing because it needs network to do it. But your humanoid will be able to do tasks like house chores and everything else if it's not connected to the network. So now coming to the D1 chip. Well, the D1 chip is the main part in the Tesla Dojo computer. It's like 2.5 centimeters square. That's pretty small. And in that thing, there are 7 nanometers, which is very small transistors in it. And it's almost impossible to imagine that there are 50 billion of them in one chip. So what is a 354? Well, these are like those little brains inside that chip that do the calculations, for example. And those 376 T-flops, well, those are like it can do 376 math operations per second. That's very intense. And there are 25 D1 chips in one tile, and each computer has 10 tiles. So you can imagine there are 250 D1 chips in one tile. That's pretty much. So they all work together in each one tile, and they can solve 9 quadrillion math questions per second. That's like 9 with 15 zeros next to it. And they also have 10 cabinets full of them and 3,000 chips in total. So if you make the calculations, they will only actually need 2,500 chips. But if anything fails, they have extra 500 chips for them. And well, the process that they use to teach the Optimus, it's called Linux plus PyTorch. This is a software that they use to train and send data to the Optimus itself. Now coming to the control stack. So the Optimus always has a task planner, what to do. For example, you give a chore and it does it. And the motion planner, for example, how to move, what to do, and the actuator controls, the physical execution, what to move and what not to. And real-time feedback loop and safety monitors at all levels. So it remains safe for all humans and its safety itself. Now coming to the software and code base. So C++ and Python are used to write the code in it. And it's also used by PyTorch, which is used to build the brains and train AI models in it. The 𝐓𝐞𝐬𝐿 and 𝐓𝐷𝐾 are simulation platforms where the Optimus can train and perfect its task, what it needs to do. Tesla has built, like as I already said, the Dojo supercomputer to train the Optimus if it does any mistakes. And coming to the modular firmware for real-time control. Well, what does that do? The robot's parts are controlled by small, independent software models that work together to move limbs smoothly and very quick. And ROS, like International Architecture, what does that stand for? It stands for Robot Operating System. This is that system that helps robots to talk like us humans and even cooperate with them. Applications. Now Tesla thinks to make, for example, for factory automation and retail, service and customer tasks, or household like cleaning, lifting, or cooking, and even healthcare. But this is now coming to a long term. They also think they might be able to send them to space to examine where, well, everything else in space. For example, they would send it to moon and see what kind of things are going on there, for example. Well, what are the challenges? So they want that Tesla's Optimus can do many tasks at once, and it's also safe for humans. And as I already told you, they use 2.8 kilowatt of battery, and they want that's very much, and they want that it gets reduced a bit more. And robustness in real world conditions, meaning, for example, it can do tasks even if it's raining outside, and ethical and social acceptance, for example, it doesn't hurt humans or anything, like so on. Now, coming to the vendors. Now, one thing you need to know here is that Tesla makes most of its parts in-house, but there are few vendors that supply for Tesla. For actuators, Tesla makes their own in-house, but for sensors, they have vendors like Bosch or TC Connectivity. For batteries, they have Panasonic or Tesla, they make their own. And for cameras, they have Samsung, Sony, or Tesla made. For chips, Tesla designs its own FSD chips or D1 chips, which is made by the Taiwanese Semiconductor Manufacturing Company or Samsung Foundry. Metal and parts, they're possibly from Magna or Foxconn, and even CNC or machine shops. And software platforms, now they build all of their softwares in-house, and Tesla AI also builds them for them. Now, what types of other robots are there? The 𝐎𝐤𝐭𝐬𝐿, this is from Honda. As you can see, this is that for an image. The Sophia, this is like a human image made for teaching, for example. And Pepper, for example, if you want to order or even study as a tablet, it'll come to you and you can order, for example, in a restaurant. And the NAO, this is the NAO, and this is the Atlas. And now what are the future roadmap for Tesla? They plan on making this mass production by 2026, and their target cost will be 20,000 per person. Now, they do believe that this will go even more than their car, and they sell 2 million cars per year. So, thank you for my presentation, and that was about it. Question and answers. Any questions?
Great. Yeah, I think it was a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot about Optimus Robo, which I had no idea what it does.
These humanoids are
End of the day, if robots are doing everything, then uh, doesn't it lead to more misery in the world? Because people lose their jobs,
Yes.
and instead of, kind of taking um the entire human society forward, wouldn't it be bad for the society, or do you think it will be good for the society? I think that is what I wanted to know.
I mean, there are some pros and there are, of course, cons for each topic. For example, like I said, repetitive tasks, a humanoid can take care of those, but like there are also cons, like people losing their jobs or yeah. So I don't.
AI feeded robot as come as like a class teacher. He knows better than you and your teacher. And your teachers will be disappear one day and the robots will going to teach you. How do you feel it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Just
Would
imagine.
you want that to happen? That is the first thing.
No, actually not.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I wouldn't want that to happen. No.
Okay. So, or whatever he wants to say, and then I will also um, give my views on the same question.
Okay. You can give my question to answer, Shubham bhai.
Okay. I feel that at the end of the day, so even if you think about education, right? Education is a very sensitive topic. I mean, at least in India, what I see is there are schools which are very, very tech friendly, and there are schools which are very traditional and still don't use a lot of technology. As parents, at least in India, I see that most people still want to send their kids into a school where there is less technology, less use of TV in the school, and TV is still okay. I mean, some of the schools here, for example, are only teaching even for like pre-nursery, like very, very like kindergarten kids using a TV. It might be better to understand things because obviously there is more visualization and everything, but still I feel at least in India, people feel that there should be less TV time for kids and things like that. So penetration of technology in education is not going to be very, very quick. That is the first thing based on the past experiences. That is what I can say. And then even when there is something which is quick, for example, let's say tablets, right? So now we have all the books available as PDFs in a tablet. You could just carry a tablet to school and you could read. I have not seen it happening here, at least in India. I feel students as well as schools as well as teachers still prefer physical books over a tablet. And even though it saves on cost, it saves on the weight that you have to carry.
Um,
It
And
is happened here. It is happened.
yeah,
He was studied
it's so in my
physics.
school. In my school, we have to take iPad because they say it saves the paper and money and the trees
I mean,
and
that
nature.
is 100% true. But what I'm trying to say is that it definitely has happened in some places. It hasn't happened in some. But the only thing is that it takes time for technology to actually, uh, penetrate into the education. I think it is one of the slowest sectors where technology, penetrates. And then also, I feel that a teacher is not just somebody who teaches. A teacher is much, much more than that. It is a teacher,
Value,
yeah,
values.
the overall value system, and then emotions also. It is not just about teaching, it is about, for example, if two kids are fighting, right? I mean, most of the teachers, if you see, are girls, and there is a reason because they love kids more than men. I don't know, that is something biological, but I mean, at least for small kids, right? They find themselves more comforting with a female teacher, and also, I mean, a robot might not be, even if it is able to do the same job, I don't feel parents would be very, very happy that it does. And therefore, unless the parents are okay with doing it, the schools wouldn't be doing it, because at the end of the day, schools have to serve the parents along with the students. So I mean, there would definitely be a lot of other places where it will very, very easily replace jobs, which basically means the people who lose their jobs will have to reskill themselves into other things, and move on into other domains. But and that is not the first time it is happening. It has also happened every time there is a new technology jump. For example, internet, for example, a computer, or a wheel, or a transportation, a steam engine, or whatever. And therefore, I feel, and now obviously robotics, AI, and everything. So every few years there is a new technology jump. We always feel that it will take away jobs, but ultimately jobs are not taken away, because new jobs get created as a result of the technology that is created. A robot might create new businesses, new enterprises, new kind of jobs that we cannot even imagine today.
Interesting. That's true. That's true. But this could be the challenge, and the going forward, I think we will going to see various opportunities and the routes where we can be change our directions. That's what I believe.
Yeah,
So
100%.
we have to be prepared and should know the things, and technology travel is really important. We should have to travel with the technology going forward. That's my takeaway with that. So Rehan, so what is your closing remarks?
Yes, I don't have any remarks. Closing.
But feel free to add anything that you want that we might have
Yeah.
missed to close the discussion. And
Stop the recording and then yeah.
yeah, great.
No. You stopped it recording?
No, not yet.
Okay. So any closing comments, Rehan, and then you can stop the recording. Yeah.
Just like, subscribe this video, and share it to my age kids, and leave your comments and feedback.
But I think that's a good closing, right? That is something important. So